Right, we're back. It's another episode of Hot Take Point Made League of Legends Edition, which I have to say has actually successfully, congrats boys, we have successfully differentiated ourselves from the CS one. Because in the CS one, people also say none of us know what we're talking about, like Kassad's a fraud coach, Maui shouldn't even be allowed to have hot takes, I'm just an idiot in every game. But here's what's different. They sort of love to hate the show in CS. They actually just hate the show in League of Legends. Like, so even the comments don't look forward to the show. Like, as far as I can tell, someone's watching it, isn't it? We're not getting no views, but I don't know. It's like you almost can't find an actual fan of the show. It's bizarre at this point in time. So, okay, fair enough. It's all good. Maybe that's just something different about League and CS people. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I
think CS people are more elitist, right? They're like, oh, we need these standards, otherwise we hate it. League, they're more open-minded because this often self-grab by Riot, in terms of patch and design. So they're used to it that, so it's fine.
Okay. And by the way,
don't really offend them.
Also, if you think our takes are bad, this is the first episode I've actually remembered to go into that. If you don't know, if you subscribe to the Last Free Nation Discord, not only can you ask questions on Summoning Insight and the Four Horsemen, you can also submit a hot take that might appear on this show. Now, some of them, I have to say, were just actual trash. They're never going to get on. And I'm only going to take the odd one. It's not like Summoning Insight questions where we do them all. But I've taken one for this one that's a mixture of shit, but it is a true hot take. Like, I don't know anyone in the world who even thinks this. So I'm definitely we're going to insert that at some point in the show, almost like a respite for us. So we can just either, well, who knows, maybe the hot take is someone agrees with that shit, but if not, then essentially we will just roast that take. So shout out to anyone who actually subscribes to the Discord. It's another way you can support us, blah blah blah, all the rest of it. Right, let's start. Who has the opening hot take? Who wants to go first?
I can go first, and I think that to start with, I would say that looking at the pool figures of the LTA tournament as a whole and the amount of relevant teams that actually are in LTA North, I think that the right move for Riot should have been merging LCS and LEC as a Western League and move all the teams back to Berlin, because they would have saved cost for these orgs that can't really, generate revenues. It would be saving costs. Would have had more talents in LEC, probably better storylines. And when you look at JoJo, right, it wouldn't affect that much the rankings, because the best NA mid laner is probably, like, as I said last episode, it's like bottom 3. In terms of mid laner in LEC, and we would have saved the Brazilian region. The South of America could have still competed together. We would not shadow them, and it would have been more exciting for everyone. So I would say, yeah, I think the right move for Riot would have been to get rid of the 4 teams that are just here to show their logo for 3 weeks in the LEC, and replace them by Team Liquid, FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, and one another, and it would have been the greatest move.
That is a hot take. What do you think, Keire?
Yeah, right. Well, picking on the point, it would be funny, because if you got the junglers as well, the best jungler would have still been European no matter which way you cut it. So it's an interesting one. Here's the thing, I hate the regional leagues. Like, the regional leagues were trash. But the only time I ever actually wanted them to do the regional leagues was when NA actually had interesting teams. I actually wanted to see TSM and TL play against Fnatic, G2, and that when they were good, when those teams were really, really good. And NA is so drained of resources. I would want to take the best team, and I would just want to leave all the dog shit behind. And that's why more bad League of Legends should not be the objective of League of Legends. As the fewest amount of games of the bad teams playing should be the objective. And I feel like if you merge those regions together, you just have more dog shit teams playing each other. That is my problem with the merger.
No, hear me out, right? You remove SK, Rogue, GX, and whoever, find a 4th one, I don't care. And you replace them by Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, and TL. Don't you have the most exciting league? You have Venture, NA fans look at EU. You make 2 groups, you still put the shit teams of NA and EU on, Swiss or Run Robin, for the first 3 weeks, nobody cares. And after 3 weeks, you have Team Liquid versus Fnatic, you have MCOY versus 100 Thieves. That's banger after banger. Everybody's tuning in to watch the games. Everybody's my region is better, this and that, right? Players from NA are better than. It's basically LEC. We take back our players from LEC, you add Vulcan and Blabber, and you're good, right? That's basically, the rest are Koreans anyway, already in LTA North. but at least we saved the LTA South. Like we saved the viewership, we saved the legacy. The problem was the viewership of LCS wasn't great enough. So the solution of including Brazilian fan doesn't seem to fit because we killed the Brazilian league by doing that. I think the right move would have been we save costs for owners by sending their troops to EU, and then they can compete against the best, and we see what they do, and everybody's excited about it.
No, man. No, I'm in on that. Like, now it's Battle of the Atlantic. Like, I would prefer that as a product. Like, I think it would be better.
The problem here is I have to just be boring and use some like industry stuff that just wouldn't work. Like, here's the problem. I actually do agree with the premise. If you don't know, by the way, I don't give a flying fuck. I would have done like a true Super League like Monty suggested. By the way, I would even do that in football. I don't give a flying fuck if Brighton or someone wants to play. Like, do you have 500 million to spend? Because the teams that spend the 500 million, like, they're investing more by definition into football than you. Like, I'm sorry that you're competitive with them. So I would absolutely do essentially a Western Super League in this scenario. The problem, and by the way, all along, the most obvious one that Riot missed, I can't even believe they missed it, was, first of all, they never made Rift Rivals real. It should have just been like an 8-team tournament that was like a fucking double limb or something. But even if you weren't going to do that, the most obvious thing ever to do, you only had to do it between Western regions, was at least winner versus winner. Like, whoever wins the LCS flies over and plays a show match against the LEC, then the next split they fly over and they play the one. Just for bragging rights alone, that would be straight fire. Like, I don't know how they missed that over all the years, because as you say, if you'd have ever done TL with Doublelift against G2 Super Team, we know we had it in MSI, but like after the splits, if you'd have ever done TSM with Bjergsen back in the day against fucking Expected so hard, that would be fucking straight fire. Everyone would watch that. It would be such a hyped match, and it's just free viewership and acclaim for everyone. Like, here's the problem. There are some aspects this would work on. One, it would make a mega fucking league. Like, by the way, let's imagine you have to give all the teams in, I mean, look, in LEC, you're probably at this point in time, they're not going to do it because of how much money people have spent, and I imagine you could get sued. You probably actually should start invoking that rule about having too many splits as 10th and fucking kick Rogue the fuck out. You know, there should be certain orgs probably should be booted out. They are parasites on the fucking ecosystem at the moment. But if somehow you expand the league, I don't know, you make it 12 teams or something, or 14 teams, and you bring over like the top 4 NA teams, the real orgs basically, not the fucking joke orgs that like shouldn't even be there. The ones that actually have like proper teams that made the playoffs of the tournament, etc. It would make an amazing competition, by the way. It would be way better. Like, you can imagine how insane now even like a 5th to 6th place game would be. It would be mega. Like, that would be a really great match potentially. Also, you have the whole thing that, like, believe it or not, I'm not even going to attack the sponsor angle. I think a fan will get lost on that. A fan might think, oh, but wait a minute, Thorin, all the LCS teams, LTA, have all North American sponsors. So they do in Counter-Strike as well. But in Counter-Strike, you go to any tournament in the world, and what you take is this. It doesn't matter if the tournament is in Europe or China. As long as NA fans watch, they can still get affected by the sponsor and do this. And I'll even argue that if you put them against G2 and Fnatic, etc., the viewership could even go up for those matches. The obvious problems where I see flaws, and by the way, I'll also agree, living costs way lower in Berlin than they are in fucking LA. Like, it's actually absurd how much you would save money on this, by the way. You could actually just cut your budgets, etc. Like, I think some of the LTA owners, I don't know if they just don't reach out to Europe. I'd love some of you guys to know what the bottom, I mean the actual bad orgs, not the bottom placing teams. If you knew what the worst org in the LEC's costs were, your brain would fucking explode. Like, you can't even dream of those costs, because you're essentially doing the equivalent of if you changed from like Berlin to fucking central London. Like, it would be insane, the fucking costs for everything, the housing, the travel, everything would be fucking bonkers. But the problem I have is this. The most obvious angle is you would probably lose some of the LTA viewership anyway because of the time zones. Like, you'd have to do what I would do, but no one else would agree to. I just think, can we all just grow the fuck up and stop pretending that we're all like working a job where you have to get up at 9 in the morning to be a pro gamer? Bro, you can get up at like 11 or 12. Just have them play like 9 p.m. till fucking 1 in the morning for all I care. Like, as long as it makes it so that someone from America could watch as well, then you could increase the viewership. The problem is, will you get as much as LTA? The only issue I do see though, and this is actually the biggest concern for me, is I do think that like you'd have a big problem with the whole thing that like, if this was the old EU LCS and NA LCS, we could do this tomorrow if Riot decides it. But you have like sold them this bizarre dream that they're part of a franchise league that they've bought into for millions, and now they're going to get revenue. So I think you'd have a really hard time, believe it or not. I actually think just being open to like lawsuits and stuff if you did something like this. But in terms of the principle, it's a good hot take, because I actually think fans do react, by the way, like they did to the European Super League in football. I think their initial reaction is, whoa, this is different. You're breaking tradition. What about if I'm a fan of the little team? I think you'd get all the same complaints, but I actually do think the product would be fucking amazing. I think it should be incredible.
And you'd also you'd get the combined like caster talent as well. Like you bring like the casting like together. You'd also like narratively like as the years like went on, you'd have like the teams like swapping of like players because like the region locked players would like move around. So like you would like Europe would benefit from it, and technically the American teams. But what the other context is, the American teams price per dollar on player would also benefit because like as in like they would be able to afford European players at a higher rate because they're not limited to 2 of them per team, and because that has its own dynamic of like the second player that you get on your team who fills up a slot is technically more expensive than the first by rules of economics. So, it's just such like a weird like dynamic, and it was like it's so how so many like home runs were missed to make these products fail and be like the worst versions of themselves. Even though I think the LEC is like they have improved it and worked on it. It's just like the really obvious stuff is it's such a shame. Like I remember, I think we all sitting here, we all remember it. Like, do you remember they had the BDS played Golden Guardians, that one game to qualify for Worlds because of the change in the region rules? Yeah, that was one of the most hyped. If you go look it up, like the viewership on that game, by the way, is unbelievable. Golden Guardians, nobody gave a flying fuck about Golden Guardians until they played that series, mate. And then everyone came out of the bandwagons. European fans were bigging up Nuck, by the way, because they like dogged on NA on our behalf. Like that's where we were at. So I've seen it happen too many. I see it too much in other esports as well, like in Dota, where it just works like an absolute treat. I would be hard convinced, had they structured it from the start or begin to structure towards it, they couldn't make it work.
Now, speaking of economic concerns, what about your finances? Keep it safe in a Ridge wallet. Because our friends at Ridge have provided, I already had one anyway, by the way. I've actually not only been sponsored by them, I actually had one from like 4 years ago. And I always tell people, I actually used to have like a rival brand, but I didn't have the one that's a band like this. I had the one, if you know, that you press a button and it pops out, right? That was the original thing where we went from the old wallet with the massive one. I used to be a ridiculous boomer. I actually used to, for real, just get the ones with a zip to put coins in. I used to complain that like a man's wallet didn't have like coin space stuff. I didn't realize if you're actually an adult, you don't need coins. You can just put them in your pocket or you just get on with your life. Just don't worry about it. So now, by the way, on this, I don't use it because now I am a man. You know, in my like late 30s, I decided to upgrade anyway as a man. So you can actually get a coin tray. I choose not to have it on mine because I just have the band for the little like bonus cards and stuff there, like the supermarket one you scan and all that jazz. You can fit like loads of cards inside. I think you can fit up to 12. I haven't got 12 in here. I don't use that many personally. And instead of a button, you just press here and the cards sort of fan out. You can easily take them out and put them back in. It's got a band, so it just adjusts that size. Also, crucially, the one that you had to press the button on was actually way more limited in how big it could be because every card had to fit inside that limited hard space. Whereas because this has a band on it, that's why it expands out depending on all the cards you've got. So also comes in loads. That's like 50 different colours and styles that you can choose from. Made with premium materials like aluminium, titanium, and carbon fibre. It has this thing called RFID blocking technology, so that people can't use these things called digital pickpocketing devices in like airports and stuff to like take data from your card and stuff, I'm guessing. Loads and loads of reviews. And then also, they don't just make actually wallets. I don't have it on me right now. It's near my door, obviously. But they actually have a really good key one as well. It's called like a key case. You can fit up to 6 keys in. That one's also really good. Super easy to get the keys in and out. By the way, you don't have the jangling in your pocket. And because on the back it's got a metal thing, you can also like put it on a magnet when you come in and stuff. Actually, the funny thing is, it's the sort of thing that before I actually tried this stuff, I never would have done it. I would have just stuck with what I was doing before. But it's one of those things that actually it's like a little upgrade, quality of life upgrade, I would describe it as. You've got one now, Keire. They sent you one. What do you think?
This thing is actually unfucking believable. Because if you ever, I'm going to tell you something that they don't advertise. If you wear jeans with keys in them and you sit down, the keys embroider and push through. Particularly if you wear black jeans, they push through the black and they make like white and silver like tears into the clothing, right? Now this thing, you see it's kind of got like a coating on it. The keys aren't like flushed out. And so you can place this in your pocket with all the keys and you can sit in jeans and you're not stabbing your leg or into the actual clothing material thing. This thing here, by the way, is unbelievable. It's really, really lightweight. The keys flick round like super easy. It's not like finicky at all. You can even like strap it like onto it's got like a clip strap there. It's mate, this thing is pretty actual banging. I've only got like I only put 2 or 3 like keys on at a time. It takes up to 6. It's super, super easy to use. This thing's here. And then the wallet, basically just what Thorin says, great for town living. So you're not just walking around with like big loads of like cash and all that and like having to play about with stuff. It just makes pushing out and scanning a for-use card like so easy. So I've basically moved on to this for like just town living and paying between shops.
Yeah, there you go. Also, by the way, they have free shipping no matter what product you pick, and a 99-day risk-free trial. So basically, like if you don't like it, you can send it back. And it also has a lifetime warranty as well. By the way, it's very sturdy. Actually, I had one before this that I had for like 4 years, and I would have never got rid of that if they hadn't offered me a new one. So right now, Ridge is having their once-a-year anniversary sale where you can get up to 40% off at ridge.com/hot, HOT. It's on the screen there. Just head to ridge.com, hot, HOT, to see the biggest sale of the year. After you purchase, they will ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and mention us and say we sent you. Also, by the way, I do think it actually is an upgrade over probably whatever wallet you've got right now. And it's just a cool way to support the show. And you can save 40%. So shout out to Ridge, shout out to everyone who supports the show. Even if we don't see any comments from you or any love, if you just buy a wallet, that makes up for all of it. Sort of. Maybe. Possibly. Right, anyway. Right, do you actually have one you want to lead with now? Oh, wait a second. It's you, Keire. What are you going to do?
Yeah,
what we doing?
So, speaking about hot, I've got one for you. And I actually genuinely believe this, and I scoured. I mean, I was on the Fnatic Discord, by the way, for this one.
Fucking hell. Okay.
Right. I am not joking.
God.
I think Oscarinin might be a candidate for the best player in Europe. He might be the best European player right now, or at least a candidate. He's on the minimum shortlist. Oscarinin, regular season playoff, might be the best player in Europe. Like, for the entire period. He has been absolutely unbelievable. He's had a very, very good champion pool depth. Watch all of the games that Fnatic's played, even the ones they lose. He is either one of the best players in the server or the outright best. His Cassante and Mbessa are unbelievably well. Watch the Mbessa game into Warwick. That is one of the hardest technical matchups to play in League of Legends right now. If the other person can play Warwick, he actually plays he technically wins the matchup into BB on the Mbessa into the Warwick. Like, he's doing so well in those matchups. He's got the depth. He's got the game-changing Poppy. His Poppy against BDS is one of the reasons that they even got out of that series alive, along with the Pantheon pick in Game 3. He's been super, super, super consistent for them. And here's the big thing. My biggest criticism, because Oscarinin used to have, like, the champion pool, the team fighting, right? He's taken it to some of the elite Asian top laners. He used to have a massive problem with just death pushing his lane like a maniac and dying all the time. And he, for the most part this season, he's completely like taken that out of his game. He's like completely deconstructed that out of his game, and he's been a much, much more responsible player. I mean, I think he's been unreal.
I disagree. I respectfully, or disrespectfully disagree. I think Oscarinin has been consistent, which he hasn't been. So that's a significant upgrade, right? Like, when you're Fnatic, what you're asking your top laner is just like, be there. Like, be there. We have jungle support, probably the best in the league or second best in the league. Mid layer's doing what he has to do. Upset has been playing out of his mind pretty much the whole split. So as long as Oscar does his job, and he doesn't have a very hard job, and that's where I would challenge you. I've watched all the games, since I'm co-streamer. There is not a single game of the LEC I haven't watched. I would say that the responsibility that falls on Oscarinin in these games is very, very small. So in a meta where your job is to pray that you're not gonna get killed under your turret, right? Every single game in swap lane, for pretty much 70 or 80% of the splits, playing Cassante or Mbessa and trying just to do like a dash and then flashing under your tower and try to do 1-for-1 and playing with 2 level down from the rest of the map on a side lane versus a tank, and then once in a while group with the team and press your spells. I would say, and I would give that to you, is the only Mbessa that's able to land an ultimate on someone. He's the only one. In EU, I watch all the Mbessas, not a single, but that's a problem on EU. It's like, is he one of the best top laners in EU because he can press one spell? No. But the global responsibility of top laners in EU right now is like very, very poor. And I don't think that he has made, like, a good top laner is someone who makes a difference in the game, absorbs pressure, but as well is able to create some. And I think, for instance, in that field of the game, BB and Kana have been miles ahead of Oscarinin. So he's a very good weak side and he's consistent at it. But I don't think there is any single measure under which he performs as number one. So I would not even count him in the top 5 of the best EU players at the moment.
Right, my problem with this is it's essentially one of my number one like pet peeves in League of Legends, which is I hate when someone's on a winning team but they play the weak side and then people just say they're flat out like the best at their role, and it's like, bro, his own team doesn't agree with you because otherwise they'd play through him. So already that sets off some alarm bells right there. Like, and secondly, the idea he's like the best just player in Europe, bro. In the group stage, he was like the 4th best in his team. So, the group stage does not exist anymore. I'll give him this. When they played badly or dodgy in the playoffs, he actually was one of the better performers. He actually wasn't the guy who was shit in the bed. In fact, sometimes he was sort of holding the house up, as it were, completely collapsed in. So, I'll give him that. I also agree he's much improved this year. The problem is, in general, though, like, I put it this way. First of all, I just don't believe the form. Like, there's a great saying, I don't know if I've ever told you before, that I was told by the Brazilians in Counter-Strike. There's a saying in Brazil where they go, it's like a cow up a tree. No one knows how it got there, but it's going to have to come down. That's a fucking straight fire idiom from Brazil there. I don't know if they actually do that with cows, but whatever, who knows? It's a great one. It's not going to last. I'm sorry, it's just not going to last. I don't believe it's going to last. And also, this has nothing to do with the point whatsoever, but I do actually just get really irritated that he just looks like he's 12 years old his whole life. Like this Benjamin Button looking fuck. Like, I don't know. Listen, you have to be really like, listen, Jensen also has the body of a 15-year-old, but you know what? He was straight fire at the game. He was clapping fucking world-class players in the world. So I just don't buy it. That's the problem. I don't buy it. And I definitely don't think contender for best player in Europe, like, fucking hell. What are we, in that case, just, you know what? Pack up the fucking region. Caps, you win every split. We'll just fucking forget about it. We'll just give you the championship and we can all just stay home and fucking play Valorant or something like. What are we even doing if fucking Oscarinin could be the best in Europe? Fuck off. Yeah, even if it had been, he could be the best in Fnatic, I'd be like, you go fuck yourself. Remember, their whole team dynamic was like Mickey X and Razork are demons, and then they just play permanently in bot side because Upset won. Upset, you know what, I'll give you this. Upset has like a little bit of the princess syndrome. He certainly doesn't like it if he feels a pee under his fucking mattress 7 layers deep with all the lovely plush fucking downs and stuff. Then also, he is the guy where it's like, if you don't play to him, yeah, he might at the end just go, nah, I don't know if actually I am like Prime Rex. I think I'll just walk out this fight. See, I'm off. And it's like, well, I didn't die. It wasn't me who died in the fight, was it? So there's some of that. But the problem is, everything in that team's set up to not be about Oscarinin. So I'm with Zaboutine. Here's the reason why I can't give that status anyway. Because he actually isn't doing what the ultimate weak side, the Odo Amnir, the Impact should do, which is you should actually just be a god of every shit lane and every bad matchup. And when you don't get the counter pick and he has the counter pick, and if you could do that as the weak side, that's when I'll give you the status of maybe like the best. I think he's just kind of a bit whatever. Like, I actually think in his team, he also has a lot of freedom in the sense, there's mega fucking firepower and stars around him. I also think the pressure's not on him at all. Like, I don't know. I don't buy it personally. It is a hot take. I'll give you that. It's a hot take. In fact, someone say it might even be the hottest take on this show so far, aside from all my ones of like, Faker isn't actually the guy. Which, listen, we all just know that. No one agrees with that. It's only me. I know that. It's all good.
But like, honest to God, like, I'm genuinely, because here's the thing. There are contenders. Like, I'm not saying it's like that clear cut. It's the fact that like when I went on the Fnatic Discord, it wasn't that he wasn't that he was bad, by the way, on the Fnatic Discord. They actually thought he was playing terribly, right? And I was like, what other person going into a 1v4 as Cassante, right? When both carries are dead and killing 4 out of 3 people with like, by the way, like, you can make what you want about like Cassante, okay? But if you don't hit those Q3s, which are the knockup, like, no, right, okay? If you don't hit those, Cassante doesn't look like Cassante, okay? And he hits them like all the time. He's got really good like all out usage. And here's the thing again, no, for like Zaboutine. He's played the exact same number of games of Jace and Nar as he has like Cassante. He's only played 2, so he has played a lot of Mbessa. Like, during the regular split, teams giving him Mbessa all the time was madness. Like, actual madness. On you go.
The simple reason I don't remember the Jace game is a testament of why he doesn't, like, that's it. It's like, if you have to remind me that he played Jace,
Zaboutine, you brought up Kana. I don't ever want to see Kana play Jace ever again, bro. He played Jace like Reckless would play Jace, ADC, where he was like, he doesn't even know Hammer form exists. At least Oscarinin actually knows where his Archie is. Like, come on.
I don't mind the hot takes, but are we gonna come into this show saying that Oscarinin has a better Jace than Kana? Like, well,
In Europe, he's been a bit... No. In Europe, he was better on Jace than Kana was. Kana has not been good. Bro, Kana had an absolute mare in playoffs. Of like, in regular season, Kana was like the second best top laner. But he did not go into playoffs the same form Oscar did.
He's playing tanks. He's just playing tanks. I've been reviewing all the games. He's just playing tanks, and the team is not doing the same when he's playing tanks. Like every time he has a carry in his hands, the team is performing well. That's why you see he's a better top laner than Oscarinin. Because Oscarinin, you forget the Jace game and you remember the Cassante games, and Kana, you forget the Cassante games and you remember the Jace games. Point made. That's it.
I mean, you think that's even hotter, mate. I'm not getting into that, but that's crazy. If you think Kana is better than Oscarinin, that is fucking.
Put my life on it.
That's
Put my life on it.
Okay.
Oh, 100%. He's a better top laner. He's a better top laner in weak side, in strong side. He has better flank angles, understands better the side lane pressure, moves better around the map, understands vision better.
He miss skill shots on CC targets. Static CC targets. So.
That's execution. Yeah, I can make a compilation, right? I can make probably a YouTube video of 5 minutes showing all the flows that Oscarinin had the last 2 years in terms of skill shots and stuff, and then come back to the last 3 weeks and say, oh, in the last 3 weeks he's been slightly better. But overall, if you average out every single factor, there is not a single metric by which Oscarinin can be better than Kana. And I'm really not, like super hyped on Korean imports at any position in Europe. I'd rather have Europeans. I think, for instance, in the discussion of very good top laners, you can put Naknako that has been playing very well in the losing team and stuff. But I'm on Thorin's side. You're not convincing me. You're not convincing me. I'm okay with you that the Fnatic fans are picked off towards Oscar.
To make that compilation and explain to me how Kana isn't playing Ornn poorly when he's not proccing Bristle with all attacks. I want to see that compilation. That's content, by the way. If you can make it, I'll take it.
Okay. Right, here's my hot take. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So my hot take's going to be an LCK focused one. And I tell you what, it's a hot take against myself. Like, I can't even believe I'm actually going to have to say this, but I just think it's true. Is, like, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, because I just did a Substack piece about the fact that Zeka just wins all these game fives at all these different times in his career and all these different lineups, etc. And if you don't know, he's won the last 9 in a row from the DRX squad through to Hanwha Life, etc. Which isn't to say of every series. Obviously, there was loads when they first got Hanwha the first year, they didn't even make game fives, did they? So, but here's the thing I'm going to say. I don't know if I can actually say he's like one of the most clutch, because obviously you've got like Faker historically, by the way, actually even people like Chovy have been fairly clutch domestically, etc. You've got loads of players that are mega in the 5th game, etc. But I'll tell you what, he's mixture of one of the absolute most elite clutch players, like a game 5, game 4 type player. And here's what's crucial. I'll make it even bigger. I actually think, bearing in mind he's done this now for like almost 2 years, I think he might actually be one of the best, like, decisive clutch game players I've actually seen in League of Legends. Because one thing I actually do appreciate about Zeka, well, remember, by the way, I point this out in my article, it's not that everyone was wrong. He was a 2-champion player. If he used to get Silas and fucking Akali, he would smurf, and if he didn't, and if he had to play like Oriana's, it was just game over. Like, you just didn't give a fuck. You had, like, the difference in mid would just be, like, normalized, or someone would be way better than him. But the difference is, if you put him into the game, I actually think Koreans themselves have suffered from this a lot. A lot of people in game 5 just play super passive. In England, we'd say, like, their arsehole fucking tightens right up and they're just like, oh God, shit, I don't want to make a mistake. And so what you see in League of Legends is actually some of the most frustrating play ever. You don't get the game 5 banger like in the LPL, where everyone's sending it and every fucking ult and re-engages and someone teleporting in when it's questionable. That's the LPL. In LCK, what you actually get is you get those, like, bullshit standoff fights at the Dragon, where, like, you step forwards, the support gets blown up, you all back out, one guy dies, and then the rest get away. They get the objective for free. You go into your base and farm, and then you just go, right, let's see if we can get some vision control on Baron. They catch a guy at the Baron at the top bush. He dies. You fucking back off again. They take the Baron. And then you sit in the base and let them end the game. And you don't even, like, fight them under the foot. Koreans are the worst for that. So I think I have to give this guy props. Like, if you ever watch this guy on any aggressive champion when he's in a game 5, mate, he will actually just fucking send it. He will just go, like, the joke is he used to play in the LPL, if people don't know, on BLG. You can tell this motherfucker's got that same, like, DNA in him. He's just fucking crazy how he'll go in. And I'll actually add this last detail in as well. I'll even make the stakes of how I think being decisive can be mega important in that sense. Because think about how many times now he's won, by the way, as an underdog. All his championships have come as an underdog. Everyone expected Gen.G with the hands, they're probably going to win this time. Gen.G with the Golden Road was definitely supposed to win. And T1, that was supposed to be their worlds once they made the final. So one of the reasons why I think it's super important that you have like a really decisive player in clutch games is if you ask me, like, drop a player into a team and build a squad around him, I'd take BDD over this guy any day. But I'll tell you what, if you had to make a squad like this and I have to play game 5 for like my life and you got a gun to my head, I might take Zeka over someone like BDD. Like, I could actually sort of trust that he'll at least like go, if you want to use an MMA analogy, even if he's fighting a superior person, he'll go for like the haymaker to knock them out. If this is fucking baseball, he's going for the home run. He might wing and miss, but I'll tell you what, some players don't even do that. Some players play too tactically for me. So there you go. You pick which it is. He's either one of the best clutch players or he's one like, he might even be the most decisive like game 5 player I've seen. He's nuts.
I mean,
I think
I'm very much... Go on, you. Go, Keire.
So, here's the thing. I actually think previously he is actually really good in. Okay, he's really good in game 5. I think this one recently was actually an example of him being a passenger. Like, I actually think on the Azir.
Oh, the final, yeah,
the final. But you know what? That's like a black swan. You know what I mean? Because the other ones, he is actually like the Yon, the Akali one, the Azir into T1. Like, Zeka is good in game 5. And I get the point that the reason we're talking about it is it just kind of happened there. The really weird thing about like Zeka, and the reason I bought a lot of Zeka stock when I was in the LPL, when he was an extremely flawed but like unbelievably talented player. When it was like the Silas, he used to be a Silas Zoe, Akali player. Like that was his champion pool. And Coma chose him to be the player to play on Vici Gaming. Like Coma literally like selected him to be his like star piece on Vici, and basically like they were going to build the team around him. And he took a really dog shit Vici Gaming with Coma further than it ever should have. Like they were playing like Night Stack TES, like super close, like amazingly like skilled player. But he used to always get banged out in playoffs, and then that went away. And it kind of had that same way. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's what you kind of talked about Thorin with Device, where it's like he used to lose like at one point in stage, and then when he got to the next level, he had failures, and then he built up, and he became clutch at that point, and then he built up, and when he broke through and won that Worlds, it was like a switch went off, right? And he went from being this like anti-clutch player that didn't do it in the playoffs, used to die in random places, to like this turned on like massive playoff player. Like I don't think people watch the regular season and think Zeka's ever the best player, but you'll pick him out in playoff games. Like even if it's nothing to do with game 5, he's really good and really like clutch in the big moments of game 5. Go watch Worlds HLA versus BLG, where he plays like the Silas Galio game into like Knight. Knight is literally playing probably one of the best Galio games ever, and like Zeka's trying his like heart out to like try and match him. Like the guy is super, and here's the thing, I've never looked at Zeka and he's ever been scared of nameplates. Zeka never cared or gave a fuck about nameplates. Faker, Chove, BDD, Knight, he literally comes into the server and he swings. He plays out lanes aggressively all the time. The amount of people I watched, Koreans in particular, lose to Faker's nameplate over the years was unbelievable. It was unprecedented. But like Zeka just doesn't have that gene. He's a very impressive like player, and the turnaround's insane.
I would say I used to say that Meiko was a Korean, a Korean support in a Chinese body,
right.
And I think that Zeka is actually a Chinese mid laner in a Korean body, in the sense of I think that there is a very interesting approach of the game, which is whether or not you're gonna decide to rely on your skill to edge the situation in your favor, right? You have these lanes, you have these skirmishes in early game, especially when the stake matters when you're in game 5, where you can do what Koreans do, which is no, we're gonna lose as a team, so therefore we're gonna kind of not play these plays. We're gonna all back off from the vision. It's fine. It can get 2 grubs, 5 grubs. It's fine. We'll play from behind. We just clear the waves. And Zeka has this like a thirst on skirmishing. Like he's like I'll be the better one, which I haven't seen a lot from a lot of Korean mid laners. I've worked with Crown back then when I was on Uptick, and I think Crown back then was very much like this, and I think that's why he was a challenger to Faker back then because he was the only one that was eager to get into these game fives and try to play the lane and try to play very aggressively. I think there is one thing where it's pretty hard to rate Zeka as the most clutch, because although he has this hunger for blood in these very high stake matches, all the times Zeka has shown very good performance is when mid lane laning has been less important. And if you look once again, a lot of very, very good mid laners, and that's probably going to lead to my next take, but a lot of very good mid laners haven't been able to perform on par with what you would expect. I think Knight has had a pretty hard split in comparison to what we would expect. Chovy is probably the least impactful he's been in years because mid lane doesn't matter as much. Showmaker, which was had troubles actually performing on par with the top mid laners, because laning is just not as important as it used to be. If you look at, for instance, the series there was yesterday in LEC that I was watching, Caps played terrible in comparison to the standards he can have. Doesn't matter at all, because mid is dead. That's why Doinb is doing so well. Doinb is always doing as well as mid lane's dead. And mid lane's dead. Like, you play, you push, and you go somewhere on the map. There is, like, you're sharing XP level 1 as a mid laner with your top laner because there is a swap lane. So I think that as clutch as Zeka is, there is a lot of parameters within the game that needs to happen for him to showcase his best skills, whereas people like Faker and Chovy will always be consistent and good at the game. But I would be on your end that there is a moment where starts to matter, and I think the amount of game and series he has been able to average in his favor by playing aggressive is like unmatched. I don't think there is a player in history in the position, mid lane position, or you probably have to go back to like Dade and Pound right era, where you could see these mid laners in Korea actually like trying to go for the play, the low percentage play, and try to win it. And Zeka is like a very different breed of Korean mid laners. You want my hot take?
Yeah, go for it.
Rookie is the most unlucky or overrated player in history. Because I'm going to speak about this IG team. So what's the best ADC probably in the patch over the last few weeks has been Keire. They have Gala. They have Meiko. I think this is a meta that's driven by supports.
Jungle's pretty good.
For the first time, he's playing with very good players in the LPL.
Yeah.
So you could say, oh, so he has everything to perform and he hasn't, so he's overrated. But on the other end, it's the first time that mid lane matter as few. This is a swap lane meta and he plays with the Shy.
Right.
And there is, so what I'm trying to I haven't been able to phrase that out completely, right? But that could be like, kind of a YouTube essay where it's like, you have a strong case for overrated and you have a very strong case for unlucky, because I think the first time the planet aligned for Rookie in the last 6 years where he can actually showcase his talents, the game is in a state where none of his skills matter, because being what he is has no point in the game, and every single part of his team that could be a carry is actually held back by a factor of the game, which is usually swap laning, or just like raw team fighting doesn't matter as much because you can always cross map. So I'll let you guys decide whether it's the unlucky or the overrated status for Rookie in this split. But I just wanted to show it, like to bring back Rookie, because last year we spoke a lot about him. And this year he has a good team and he's eliminated it. So what do you guys think? Overrated or unlucky?
I'll take this one first, because the thing I will say is this. It's actually the angle I don't really like flex enough. I know people do say it on Reddit, it's the go-to of like, oh, he got inted by his teammates. But I think people miss that. It's not just the idea that like his teammates randomly in like the playoffs or the regional. It's that one of the reasons they int is oftentimes they're not actually that good players. Like, the joke is people don't know this because they only watch internationals. If you only watch internationals, you would actually think the Shy never is bad. He has had times in the LPL he actually did play like a bomb. It's the reason why Dom has completely 180'd his now. He thinks after the first couple of years he's a complete fraud and he's just like, now fucking shits the bed and just lives off having his name and being a world champion. People don't get this. Rookie has never played in his entire career in a team you could actually categorize as a super team. Every single team usually had at least one player who was an insane leak, like the Bowler. By the way, some of the early IG rosters, that's how I know no one watches the LPL. Some of the early IG rosters are an actual nightmare. At one point his ADC became his jungler, by the way, and you don't know his name now because he wasn't good at that role either. Like, it's fucking mental, some of the bad plays he had. So I'm with you, Zaboutine. The reason it is sort of insanely bad luck he is because actually the rest of his team's playing generally fine. On paper, they all look really good, and this might be actually his worst split ever. This will actually be the absolute bottom of the barrel. So it's going to make it look, though, I agree, to a fan, where it's like, we finally got all the players you wanted. It's like, yeah, first of all, mate, that's about like 4 or 5 years too late. Like, I wanted them when he was in his prime. And then I'm also with you as well. One of the things about Rookie that I always say I think made him the best, and this is why I know people just don't watch the LPL, is because, bro, what made him addictive to watch is he had what I call power laning. He would lane, but he wouldn't like int. He would just like contest all the fucking creeps and put roam whenever he wants. And he would play the Orianna like it was a fucking super aggro champion that like bullies you and dominates you. Like that was super good. I agree that isn't a thing in League anymore. Like, this is not a thing right now. It's like, that's why you're right. They've sort of normalized like the levels of all the Midlands. In fact, some of the absolute best Midlands don't have their edge anymore. It makes perfect sense why Chovy isn't like the MVP candidate. He was the god of laning. Like, that's where he could diff everyone in the world. So no, I'm sort of with you on this one. I mean, by the way, I'll even say, I even think the hot take's funny that you're right. It can even build the case that he's obviously, we were the frauds all along and he was never that good. And if you give him these players, he never would have done shit. I'll obviously just say, if you want a quick counter to that, thank you so much, fucking NIP Gaming. Thank you for what you did in the playoffs. Because actually, after that regular season, if this was the Premier League and there was only the regular split, Doinby was the MVP, and everyone would have said, Rookie's a fraud because Aki and Shanji are fine. Oh yeah, motherfucker. If anything, they proved that Doinby was the fucking MVP. Because when those motherfuckers came to the playoffs, they reminded me of when they were on NIP with Rookie, mate. That's what I was used to seeing every fucking week. And like, I don't even know who the guy was who was playing in the fucking group stage in Jungle. That was like OMG. The guy in fucking NIP was a bomb, mate. So I'm almost, that proves Doinby was the MVP, and I agree Rookie was unlucky all the time, but also could be overrated if you hate him.
So I'm one of the few people who I have watched every single game Rookie has ever played, and a shitload of these POVs, okay? I can assert to you, he is not overrated. He is actually unbelievable. Like, he is disgusting. Like, half of season 6, most of season 7, season 8, going into the first half of season 9 of Rookie is on just an individual technical League of Legends level, right? Watching POVs in the LPL, it's unbelievable. He is genuinely unprecedentedly good. He is crazy, right? However, I even said it to you, Thorin, when you had your hot take for this show. There is actually a good team in here, by the way. This project isn't dead, but it can't have the Shy on it. There is no point in having Mako and the Shy be on the same fucking team as each other, because I don't think the Shy cares about anything that Mako has to say about League of Legends.
Okay.
Like, I don't see the buy-in. I don't see the point. Mako, it just doesn't mean, when you look at Mako's successful teams, it's like Coral 1, then it was it Mouse after that? It was Coral 1, Mouse, then it was Flandre. They were his best top laners, right? And all of them basically just done whatever needed to be done for the team. And then the Shy basically does whatever he needs to be done so that he can collect a paycheck for like next week, or he can continue his streaming career. Like, the Shy looks so checked out. He's not even playing solo queue, to the best of my knowledge. Like, he's like played like the least amount of solo queue in Korea, I think, this year. And he's still just like A-ramming all the time. Like, the guy, I think he's so checked out. But this team could be a really good team. They just need to find a way to like fix out the top lane, because if they bring a bit of stability there, if you watch Rookie versus Cream, the game that just happened, you can't say that Cream was just better than Rookie every single game. Across the series, he might have been better than like Rookie, but the whole idea that Rookie was just like completely overshadowed by Cream, he was completely like dogged on, and this is like a not that good version of like Rookie in a meta that's like not all that well like suited to him. There's a possibility of a much, much better version of like Rookie could come along. And by the way, he done this last year as well, where the first half of the year he kind of like just coasted, and then the second half of the year Rookie was great, and he was actually playing like ADC mids for the first time, like Zeri. Like Rookie Zeri, we got to see that like be like elite class on it for one of the first times like last year. So I actually don't think, put it this way, I'm not even interested with having the conversation with any fucking fan who talks about Rookie, because I've not watched his career. They're all fucking like lying. You can click on the VODs. There's ADG versus IG VODs from like 2017, which is like a marquee matchup at the time. It has 300 views on YouTube. And like, there's two guys arguing in the comment about how the pronouncers say, what's his name's, Duke's name. Like, sorry, not Duke's name, someone else's name at the time, and it's just like, yeah, that was like, that's the precedent. So here's the only thing. Rook is only overrated and under like one sense, and the fact of like if he wanted to win championships, he should have taken more responsibility with his career in terms of like what teams he chooses on. Yeah. That's the only sense that he's overrated.
Yeah.
If Rookie's point in life to be a killer, to be a competitor, was to be on the best team he could ever be, he should have taken more care of his career. But I think he just wanted A, comfort, B, money, and like C, was the team good enough to at least maybe do something? Yeah. And that was Rookie was happy. That's the biggest criticism of Rookie, because the majority of the time in the server he was fucking sick.
By the way, that's actually the exact same argument people don't know I always make for Froggen. It's like after the first few years, Froggen quite literally, I can tell you, just went for like money, or I'm comfy in this team, or like I want to live in LA and shit. Like just shit that like shouldn't, in my opinion, be like a main priority if you want to like show you're the best at the game, because you do need the team around you. You need to have a competitive team too. You need to be actually quite ruthless with teammates and stuff, in my opinion. Some of these people didn't do it. Okay. Not bad. Any final remarks, Zaboutine?
No, I mean, I haven't been able to watch that much LPL, so I just saw the results of Rookie because that's one of the ones I follow, and I was like, so with everything that came up to this point,
sure.
I had to ask whether he's overrated or unlucky.
I would literally agree with what Keire said. If you actually are a fan of like laning, go and watch, like he said, like the prime is like season 7. Go watch. So before they won the championship, before they integrated Shy properly, the Shy at the time was like a maniac, and they keep bringing Duke and etc. Go watch that season, mate, and it is unbelievable some of the shit he is doing. Like it's like trophy-esque things now where he's winning lane every time, mate. It's like how, like every matchup, like, and then carrying all the gear. Pretty sure there's a reason at one point in time this was the guy they just like by default gave the MVP to every season. It fucking felt like everyone sort of could agree, no matter who won the LPL, this was like the best fucking player basically. And by the way, he's Korean at that, so it's not like they have a bias in that sense. Like they'd rather give it to Uzi I, wouldn't they? Spoiler, no one was ever giving fucking Uzi I the MVP, but we don't have that discussion. Maybe that's a future hot take, isn't it? So here's what's funny. I think it's time we bring the fans into the equation. Oh God, the sentence I never wanted to say out loud. Let's do it. So I don't know if they actually want to have their name read out, but you didn't say no, so I'm just going to do it. Someone called Rugen Leaf V, so the 5th or something. Right, this is a fucking take and a half. But it's actually from February. It's not even from, like, you're going to think, like, oh, no, to be fair, no, it's actually from November. So, to be fair, it's just after Worlds. Now, it's obviously going to be worse in theory now because of, like, playoffs. But actually, it's a take about Worlds. But I think this is a fucking bonkers one, so I had to bring it. The take is that Jun from BLG, it said, was arguably the best player at Worlds, considering his consistently great play and ability to play both supportive and carry roles on picks like Skarner and Kindred. And then he even puts in brackets, just firing shots at people. I'm surprised he managed to help drag On's dead body to the world's final. Fucking okay, like, but this is like your burner account or something. So listen, the take is Jun was the best player at Worlds. Fan said it. What are we thinking, guys? Who's starting? Where are we going?
No, I've got to take this one, man. I've got to. No, because, right, okay, I can handle Jun having a bad day, because Jun is actually world class at some fucking things, right? Okay, but the idea that motherfucker was better than Ben and Knight at Worlds, particularly like Knight at Worlds, I was like, I ain't having that. I ain't standing on that business. Jun, the reason that Faker Silas play looks so fucking good is Jun literally misses a point blank Sejuani ult, right? Onto Faker, and he created a highlight reel that I've got to get shown every single day. Look at the class, look at the moves, it's Faker. Meanwhile, Jun's like not even hitting melee skill shots, right? Okay. Second of all, he didn't even play like all the games. Like, yes, it does look good that he comes in to replace Wei on the team and they start winning, right? But you've got to remember there was a reason Wei replaced him like before that, right? And the other consideration is when Jun like comes into the team and he's playing like all those like supportive junglers, he's not playing like Jun like style League of Legends. They have cut off his nuts to be on the team. Like, when he was playing against Peanut in that quarterfinals, they told him, you're going to be Chinese Peanut. Except from the Kindred game, he was really good in that game, and you are going to play the most, like, passive, lane-focused, like, League of Legends. Like, the Jun that you saw at Worlds was not, like, the Jun of, like, the LPL playoffs. He was completely emancipated, and he was just not the player that you think it was. And the idea that guy was better than like Knight and Bin is so utterly outrageous. I mean, I don't even think I think Knight's worst fucking thing that he'd done at Worlds was didn't tell his coach to pick him Silas enough in like Worlds finals. Like that was his like biggest crime, was to just tell his coach to pick him. Like that was his biggest indictment. I can't handle that. That takes mental. That is actually bad.
There is a thing after making content on League for 14 years that's very amusing to me. Which is I think that a lot of people, you know, they will challenge you on your analysis, you know, when you're on broadcast and stuff. But most of the analysis that comes from the fan, because I've done like asking fans as well to like give their analysis or hot takes or things like this in the past in French. People come with the only angle they do play. So probably this guy is a jungle,
right?
And he picked a team that he likes, and probably LPL because everybody's glazing LCK. So he was like, oh, I want to be a fan of an LPL team. And then he watched the jungle, which is his position. Is like, this guy is playing really good jungle. And the problem is, League is a very complex game. Like, no offense to anyone. Offense will be given by Keire and not by me. But no offense to anyone. It's a very complex game. None of us, even here on the show, can pretend we do understand everything about the game. But the level of complexity and depth that every position and every champion requires to be able to say whether someone played well or bad is extremely, like, the volume of knowledge is extremely heavy. And for that reason, I think that it is very simplistic and very easy, right? It's seducing to pick one of the few things that you do understand and focus on that and think, oh, that was game winning. It's like, oh, that Sejuani ultimate was really game winning. It was, oh, this Keire ultimate was really winning. Plot twist, during Worlds, if you could play Sejuani, Maokai, or Skarner, you were top 3 jungle already. It was so easy. These champions, if you ask legitimate junglers, pro players, they would tell you they are the easiest champion. They are like the Play-Doh champion, pretty much, to play with. Like, if you want to see the showcase of a really good jungle, it's gonna be the Nidalee. It's gonna be the Lee Sin. Even Kindred is kind of a flippy champion, not really that respected. You're gonna see the Gragas. Like, who is a really good Gragas? Like, not that many players can actually execute Gragas to the highest level. You haven't seen these champions at World. So by definition, even if you do an insane play on Sejuani, which is the best hit play you can do is Q, flash, or like, that's it. That's the hardest combo you can do on Sejuani. And you snipe the one target and you give your team the win. You still press 3 buttons, which is like extremely easy in comparison to any other champion. So there is 0% chance the best player at Worlds was a jungler. By any measure possible, it's impossible because it was so easy to jungle. And on top of that, if there was any potential discussion for a jungle to be the best, you would probably have to go to Honor, that has played out of his mind, at least 30% better to his average during Worlds, as he always does at Worlds. And it would be only Honor. This is the only guy in the discussion that you could like probably align. Maybe even Peanuts has been underperforming. So there is not a single angle I can take where you're like, oh, jungle, and then the first in the list is Shun. And on top of that, jungle is probably bottom 1 position of the impact during Worlds all together. So I really like this take because it's a really good showcase of like, oh, I take one thing that they kind of do understand because I play it in solo queue, and this guy really I really like what he did, and therefore I'm gonna like kind of shadow everything else that everybody else has done, like fake your clutch factor, fake your laning with Silas with 1 HP to salvage the matchup against Chovy with Ahri, the engage from Honor, the vision play from Keire, the synchronization of T1. If I just take T1, I can take like the laning of Knight or the side laning of Ben. I do not understand of that. Shun was the best, and that's really how it feels, at least to read the take.
I think this take is absolute fucking ass. And I'm even a Jun fan. I am sort of with Keire in that sense. First of all, if you go and watch him when he played in the spring last year, he was fucking demon. But even then, by the way, it was so obvious that like 90% of his game is just his hands, and that any like genius he has is like playing super aggressively. He's clearly not, by the way, despite what this guy said, because they saw him play Skarner, he's clearly not some really good supportive jungler who can like play the map and is like shot caught. There's no fucking way. Like, I'd even love to know if this guy ever talks. He looks like the sort of fucking guy that just goes in, like he's just Leroy Jenkins in jungle or something. So I don't get this take. I think his take is ass. Like, here's what's funny. I do think BLG should have kept him instead of Way personally, but that's just because BLG is a fucking super hands team. They're a team that actually want to just go and hand stiff you in the fucking team fights and win the game off that. So he fit the team in that sense. And actually, by the way, spoiler, when you have fucking Bin and Knight as your solo laners, by definition, you have the most possible help you could ever have as a fucking jungler who's going to play carry style, don't you? Like, that's the dream right there. Like, you could just be ahead all day long. So I think this take's fucking terrible. And also, that's ignoring the idea that, like, fucking he's better than Bin and Knight at that time. I mean, I just said it before. I actually think Bin could change no fucking mouse click in the whole tournament, and he probably should have won the tournament and would in any other fucking year. It was like unbelievable how well he played. Then also, I've got this last thing to say. Another thing that you're going to find here, and sadly, when you apply these two lenses, it will destroy most fan takes, even if they try to be like that. He tried to take a few different factors in there and work it in. First of all, you're absolutely right. Playing stuff like Skarner is almost anti-League of Legends. That's just sort of saying, like, we're not going to play like actual jungle champion and dual. What we're going to do is basically, essentially, if you just like in the right fight, pull him into us, we just win the game because we kill him. Like, that's like some shit where it's like, that's like when you play the Nunu or whatever. The best jungler in the world's never playing Nunu because it's the best pick. He's playing it to like not play League of Legends, to destroy the game for someone else. So by definition, again, like I said about weak side, you can't be the best if that's what you were playing and that's what you got your win on, etc. Even though, by the way, he was this close to being a world champion. And then I'll just say this last thing. The two lenses that kill me is, one is single factor analysis. So what he's done there is, his logic is, since he won on those champions, he's really good on them and he can play both start. It's like, no, that's not the case, mate. Like, actually, Worlds isn't even what I'd hype him off, bro. That was just all right. He just sort of got through. His job at Worlds was don't be Wei, not be Jun. I agree with Keire. And then the second one, and this one is really annoying because he's done it massively here. He's done what you call linear thinking. So what you do is this. Basically, because for the outcome to happen, things had to happen in this order, you just take the last step, and that's what made the whole thing important and was the most important one. So even though, like in this analogy, like pick anything that you could do in this case, right? I'll give you a random example. Let's say in football, you have an amazing team where like they get the ball off, the defenders get the ball off the other team's strikers. They use build-up play to bring it up. They bring it in. The midfielder plays a ball into the winger. The winger puts an amazing chip in that comes into the striker. The striker hits a sick shot to the top corner of the goal, but the goalie just gets there. It's the best goalie in the world and knocks it down. But while he's on the floor, a midfielder who's just an average player in the team runs up and taps it into the goal. By definition, if he didn't tap it in the goal, there's no goal. But that is not the most important part of that play. Like, actually, all the rest of that shit's what made it possible for the guy to tap it in at the end. If I take all those other players away and make them average, he doesn't get a tap in. That doesn't exist. But in people's brain, because it's the last thing, it must be the most important. And the area you'll all acknowledge and see this happens in all esports and sports is when someone joins a team. That's why I think he's done it for this Worlds. Because when you saw them play in the Swiss before he joined, you were like, this team could never win Worlds. They're looking fucking whack. Like, what are they doing? But then he joined and suddenly they looked awesome. So he's doing this thing where when someone gets added to a team, you pretend like everything before, if they were losing, was everyone else's fault. And then when you join and you win, it's all your fault. It's like, it also doesn't work that way, guys. Like, it's always an equation of like who's bringing what and how hard was your job. Notice one of the points you guys broke down is how hard is his job in terms of his role, in terms of the picks, in terms of what he's asked to do in the game. Like, eye test wise, it does not, especially at Worlds. That's the problem. You picked Worlds, dude. If you just said some other angle of like he secretly could be the best BLG, I don't know, fucking maybe I could torture myself on some angle, but at Worlds, not on your Nelly. In no fucking universe, no. The answer, no.
Razork, without the language, will do as well as Chun in this team.
Oh, Zaboutine, don't touch Razork, mate, because I have found out from Koreans that because Razork is not Asian, he cannot be a good player. Oh, like, as in, like...
Yeah. I mean,
T1
I know people would say that, but for my eye test, if you put the language aside, you put Razork in BLG last year, this guy will find...
Oh, by the way, he'd also be perfect for the LPL too, mate. He'd be like an LPL MVP.
For sure. 100%. So it's like, it's mental. If you tell me like Razork can literally replace this guy and upgrade the team, it's probably not the best player in the tournament. As good as Razork is, and Razork is my favorite jungle in LEC, but I don't think it's a good take.
Right, I've got one more hot take, and maybe we'll just wrap the show after that one. So let's see where this goes. So my hot take is this. If tomorrow all the players in the world go into a draft and I have the first pick and I'm making a team in League of Legends, yes, look, I wouldn't be cynical about this split. I would obviously take like Chovy. And if Chovy's not available, I'll take Knight. And you know what? There's other great players, but I'll tell you what, this is the hot take. If I don't have, let's say the three of us do it and I'm third pick, and Keire took Knight and Zaboutine took Chovy. The third player, so my pick now of all players to start a team with, wouldn't be all the players you're all going to think of. It wouldn't be Canyon. Definitely wouldn't be Faker, by the way. It would, because remember, I don't know what team I'm getting yet to build around him. I have to pick the player that this player starts my franchise. I wouldn't even pick like Viper or Bane. There's so many players that are amazing. The third player, my pick would be Scout, currently of JDG. Because, bro, you can put any players around this guy and he performs. You can literally also, there's another player that they haven't watched the LPL, bro. His consistency in the LPL is unbelievable. I think he might be the best floor-raising star player ever in the LPL. His actual, like, base level play, he doesn't have bad splits. He has bad teammates sometimes. He has underperformances in terms of, like, the team. This guy's unbelievably good. And also, he's somehow got this weird rep. I don't know who made this rep. He's got this rep that people talk like he's some, like, Power of Evil frog and mage player who's boring. And it's like, what? Bro, this guy's like a fucking giga carry. Like, first of all, he'll roam with a jungler. He'll fuck up a team fight. Look, he's maybe not like the most insanely... He's not Zeka, but I'll tell you what, he also is fucking... He has a go button, and he definitely has fucking hands, by the way. So I think this guy... That's why I picked it, because I don't know what else is going to put fucking Scout a third in this list. So I would say I'll take Scout. I think mid lane's always super important, typically. The body of work's amazing. The general level of play is amazing. He's had the odd letdown at, like, a Worlds. And even then, his letdowns really are the old trophy of, like, he didn't choke, he just didn't carry the game. You know what I mean? Like, I think this guy's mad underrated.
I thought you would say Zeus. I was really expecting Zeus in your take, because if you look at, like...
People might agree
Zeus
with that now. He's just won the
without his
championship.
teams.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah. But it's like, you look at with and without his teams, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah,
Zeus arrives
I'm
at
with you.
T1, Legacy, leaves T1, HED wins. It's like, this is mental.
true.
For a top laner, this is unreal. So I was expecting that.
Okay.
I think the Scout he's one of the, you know, proof of you don't watch LPL.
I agree.
That's clearly, like, you kind of rate how much someone watches LPL. I don't watch LPL, but I watch Scout at international tournaments, and I know how to gauge a good mid laner because it's been my job for quite some time. It's, if someone tells you Scout isn't like top 5 mid laner if he went back to LCK and maybe top 3, people just don't watch the games. They just don't. It's clearly, like, he's probably on average, right? Because there's peaks, floors, right?
Yeah.
On average, I think that Knight still stands out as a mid laner, I would say. But I think, like, Scout can always enter as the best mid laner in the set year on a set patch, no matter what the patch and the year since he's been a pro, is always in the discussion of who's the best currently playing. And I think to make his case a little bit stronger, I think that people haven't understood what happened to this guy in quarterfinal in 2023. Because he was the best performing player on the Swiss stage, and that's the last time these people saw him perform with a good team. I don't think last year, 2024, he was that great. No. He underperformed. There was all these, contracts and stuff. I don't think, like, he was like mentally ready to perform at his best level. But he faced the 2023 quarterfinal T1. That was probably, for me, the best level of League of Legends ever played in the history. And LNG looked like shit in that series. But they couldn't do anything because T1 was playing perfect League of Legends. And since then, nobody who doesn't watch LPL has had the chance to actually see him showcase his skills. So everybody's like, oh, he was mad overrated.
Yeah.
And I would be completely on your... I think there are candidates like Zeka, probably, right? There's few names, but it's not madness to pick him as a third one. What do you think, Keire?
By the way, I'll also say as well, you also nailed the other detail that I always say about Rookie that's never considered. When people compare Rookie and Faker, they ignore that Rookie plays with Chinese players and is Korean. Like, so same thing for Scout. I'm saying all this with his LPL teams. Bro, my dream has always been, apparently it was the rumour with that contract, that he just goes back to the LCK and they just build a fucking squad around him. I'm just imagining him in, like, a Zeka spot or something. Again, like, couldn't you just win everything in the world? So, Keire, what do you think on this?
So the thing is, it's like, Scout would actually probably have just won, like, a lot more LPL titles and probably would have just, like, looked like the most insane LPL player ever if Knight just hadn't come along. Like, he just got unfortunate that Keire just produced a one-off, like an actual Black Swan. Like, no other, like, Xiaohu's the other great
Chinese
mid, yeah, but he's not Knight. Even the way he plays the game is completely fucking different. Like Knight's just an anomaly, by the way, in League of Legends, guys. Like there will most likely, by the time this game dies, there will most likely not be another Knight. Like it's the idea we ever got one, by the way, is an absolute joke.
Yeah.
The guy's unbelievable. Like it's unbelievable what he does. So you're comparing him to like someone who's like an ethereal thing. Scout for me is in like kind of like that second phase of, if I was to like draft the players, I would pick him like down at like maybe like 7th, 8th, 9th in there. I would pick him a lot higher. A lot of the factors that you talk about, Thorin, in terms of his like flexibility, how consistent he's being. I love the fact that like he plays like a side lane style that I've got like an aficionado like for. I love like his like pressure gameplay that he does, like on the split push LeBlanc games that he used to play. It's some of like the best. That's some of like the smartest League of Legends, like controlled, really nice to watch. Like the types of League of Legends that if I was like a GM of our team, or if I was the coach of a team, not like his team the way they play, but the way he plays, that's the type of game that I could get by. Like I actually don't like the way Knight plays the game in terms of like the insane like outrageous aggression and all that. I actually wish he was more like a Chove. I just think he's unbelievable. Like I just say that he's like I just look at him and go, yeah, his skill set's ridiculous and he's one of the best players in the world. But I've got more an aficionado, like an attachment to the way like Chovies and your scouts play. The player that I would actually like think that, like, just to hijack your point a wee bit, Thorin, is I'd actually take Tarzan. And I would actually take Tarzan at like a lot of points in time for the exact same reason.
By the way, I think yours is a hotter take than mine. You're taking people hate Tarzan, mate. You're taking him third out of everyone in the fucking world. Okay, I cede the floor. That's a hotter take. Go.
I would too. By
the way, I don't give a.
I would too.
I don't give a fuck. By the way, Tarzan is genuinely like it is actually. It is unbelievable what this guy can do in jungle. The amount of teams I have seen Tarzan jungle for, the amount of different game states, strategies, the amount of different laners. Tarzan turned tank AP Maokai into a carry champion, right, okay? By just being better at clicking buttons and throwing saplings into, like, bushes. His champion pool depth is unbelievable. Tarzan's, like, biggest weakness is the fact that, like, in playoffs, like, in deep games, he's a bit of a choker sometimes. But I actually think, like, if you're talking about a systems League of Legends of pure consistency, I would pick Tarzan in terms of, like, how much he brings up the floor on other players. I think Tarzan's, like, unbelievable. Not to say that Scout isn't. It's just because, like, the difference between Tarzan and then the next jungler in terms of what he can do for his team, the only other option is Peanut. But Peanut has, like, deficiencies that Tarzan doesn't have, and in terms of, like, Peanut's hands are, like, fucked at certain points in time, and he just can't play certain carry champs and certain, like, compositions, because he's just not got the proficiencies. Whereas, like, Tarzan might be one of the best mechanical players of all time. Like, if you watch the LP, by the way, what's the season that it came to the LPL first? Was it 2023 or 2022?
I think it's 2022, I think.
Yeah, he plays, like, a bunch of, like, Lee Sin. Go look up the POVs, you can find them on YouTube. Go look up the Lee Sin games, they're ridiculous. Tarzan's unbelievable. Like,
it was 2021. It was 2021.
Like, the way he uses, like, Lee Sin kicks and stuff like that, like, the way he's able to, like, track, like, team fights, it's too crazy. But Scout's underrated as well. Unbelievable player. He would be in my second round.
By the way, I will agree also on the Tarzan one. I'm going to do some content on that pretty soon. What I'll just say on the Tarzan one is, I agree he actually has sick mechanics, but the most underrated thing about him is he's also one of those people, this is why it's so sad he chokes at Worlds, but by the way, I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever followed esports, the great players that choke, this is actually their weakness because it's tied to their strength. He has really amazing poise, actually, when he's in the game, like you say, like in a team fight. He's not the guy who's just like, well, I could just go in as Lee Sin and get a kick. Well, no, he's like, he'll pick the perfect timing to do that and hold it like an Overwatch or something. But the problem is that sort of player, that strength goes away if you get really fucking nervous and you shit in your pants and you just look like an idiot then. I think the same thing's happened to people like Tian before, but I think it's the same sort of shit, you know.